Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning trading session. Bear with me a moment here. My computer is acting up of late. I think I'm going to have it taken in and have it looked at. It seems to be a little bit slow loading. There we go. So I'm a little bit behind this morning trying to get everything set up correctly. But that's all right. I was looking for an excuse not to trade the opening range anyhow, so there you go. There can be some very tempting signals coming out of the opening range. A lot of times out of the open, I'll take a look at a signal on the eagle, but I'll tend to avoid other signals if I can. Okay, it seems to be performing better now. Okay, a big run up out of the gate here. Just one moment, I'm just throwing my trade manager on my other charts. Okay. Let's see, where did we open here? We opened, way down here, 41.75. I do believe that's quite a bit lower than where we left off yesterday, I think. Let's take a look at what was going on in the overnight. A very active overnight session again. London Open right about here. And, actually, I guess that's not so bad. 41.80 looks like the London Open was. And the North American close, actually we had a very active Asian session. We don't normally see that, do we? So here's the problem. I thought we closed a lot higher than this. So we closed around 42.60, 65 yesterday. Opened down here around 41.70, 41.60, 65. So that's a rather substantial opening gap. No wonder the market took a little bit of a hop to the upside here so quickly. Mark's a bit of a salesman here. Yes, my cold seems to be much better. Thank you, Mark. He says maybe my computer caught a cold. Time for a Falcon trading system. Yes, I know. Those are pretty impressive machines. Wow, really lopsided advanced decline again this morning. Almost non-existent on the buy side. Jim says 185 on the sellers, 185 buyers, 1,900 sellers. All right, I said I was going to steer clear of opening range, and here I am with a rule of three signal. We've got the test of the extreme, and we've got an opportunity to short below all this. Now, the rule of three technically occurred right here. Oh, sorry, I'm on my Raptor, but it's the same kind of thing happening here on the Eagle. Here we go. Here's the rule of three on the Eagle. 1, 2, 3 signals against the hard edge, and we're looking for this to fail now. So you could take the signal right here, or you can take it below the lows, covering above the highs. Okay, well, no harm, no foul on that. The rule of three not quite ready just yet. So we're going to nix that order also. Looking like it's very much a buyer's market. Oh, Tony's got a Falcon trading system too. He says his is liquid cooled. Yeah, that's quite the feature. My a friend of mine sells well, the company he works for sells computing hardware for the to the provincial government. They have some pretty slick systems. I guess a lot more computers are coming out with solid state drives now. He says that's a thing to look for. But I don't know how long it'll be before we see them replace the regular spinning drive. All right. Oh, Tony's a solid state. Okay, you guys are the ones I got to talk to before I buy my next computer because I'm like a deer in the headlights when I walk into there or a kid in the candy store. Okay, trying to get a handle here on the NQ, getting an early trend change signal here on the Falcon, and we might be seeing a first micro macro cross. This signal developed just as the macro line was still gray. This is technically now our first micro macro cross signal. And that's now into yellow bars. So that's not much good to me. Okay, here we've got our rule of three scenario again. Wow. All right. It's not that I'm stuck on selling the market. We're coming back with yet another red bar buy. This red bar buy, we had these series of red bar buys here, and you saw how the market rallied out of that. Oh. Sometimes, however, it's easier setting up for the failure, right? I know where the buyers are. I don't know how strong the buyers are. That's the problem. I have a pretty good idea that if it fails here, it should see a move to the downside. And they're probably just waiting for me to go with trend. And then they'll reverse. All right, so here one more time. Now we have our first micro macro cross signal. Can I cover it up here? Oh, I can. And you know, sometimes when I try shorting in an obvious uptrend, I get the feeling like I'm stepping in front of a bus. Oh, just so close to the profit target there. All right, so we hit our first profit target. Come on, keep going. This could be a good little runner if we can take out some of this support. All right, here we go. Not moving into parabolics just yet. I'm going to keep them handy. Come on, come on. Oh, those buyers, my goodness, they're strong. Jim says the Russell is starting to fall apart. Puking is the technical term he used. Come on, just a little bit more. You can do it. I'm trying to avoid the macro pullback. I know there's going to be a macro pullback in here somewhere. But I would much rather see the market tail off a little bit first before the macro pullback. Nope. All right, so we got tapped on both our contracts at 41.95 quarter. And it looks like that was a good thing because now we got the little hiccup, the little bounce. Crude oil looking a little stronger this morning. Crude oil traders will be happy for that. They're getting a little bit more action in this market. First micro macro cross higher. Signal engaged right here. I wonder if there's enough in there that we can still consider getting on board. No, maybe not. We had a trend change signal in the Falcon on crude oil, and that had some nice follow through to it. Right here, quick little trend change signal. See, something like this, I don't mind taking, even though it's counter trend, and I'm not saying that because I know the market went higher, but rather, what are we missing here? Right? There was a tiny little test of the extreme here, but it's not unreasonable to assume that we might get a little bit of a bigger bounce, right? Usually a test of the extreme looks something like this, where we really see, in this case, selling effort, and then the buyers say, no, we're going to take the market higher. And if we shoot a trend line across the bottom here, I bet you that's pretty close to the trend line also. Yes, it is. So you got a couple of things going on here suggesting that maybe the buyers are going to hold out here. The other thing I like about this particular setup is how flat it is, or I shouldn't say flat, but uh, condensed. I can cover below this swing low, no problem. This type of formation where we get the real big swings, it's going to be a lot more difficult to cover below the lows or the highs, for instance. If we take this back to here, here's the trend change signal. You know, the big downtrend, here's the trend change signal higher. I can't really afford to cover it down there, right? That's going to be out of reach. But this one is nice and tight. I can cover it below the lows, if knowing that if it brings me in now and swings and takes out these lows, well, I'm definitely on the wrong side of this trade. But I got a couple of things going in my favor, and the market hits the profit objective, and now it's anybody's guess where it's going to go from here. Okay, we're getting another first micro macro cross signal here. Very difficult trade to take because, of course, we're in a major uptrend right now. And now we're into yellow bars, so I don't even need to worry about it. Trend change signal back here in the Falcon. So things starting to look a little bit weaker, maybe. It almost appears as though the market's trying to get into that opening gap. I saw this hard edge bounce here on the Raptor, just a little bit too late. Definitely enough in here that we would have hit our break-even trigger. Oh, look at this, a nice little test of the extreme. Well, we're getting quite the range here going, folks. Okay, the buyers are in trouble. They made a very good effort, but they are definitely in trouble now. We've reached this little swing low. We're testing the hard edge. We're starting to fail on the upside. Everything is starting to flatten out here a little bit. We don't have a rule of 3 yet, but I'm very much on the lookout for a possible reversal. Tony would like to see gold. Absolutely. Let's load gold up. All right, well, here's our rule of 3, which is actually just a rule of 2. You could set up early. The nice thing about this one is that we can cover it right above the contract highs. So we essentially have, well, not contract highs, but currently the daily high. Okay, so it's 653. Come on. All right, while we're letting that simmer, let's take a look at the gold market. Here's, well, we'll start with the Eagle. Here's gold on the Eagle. Looks like gold holding its own as far as the buyers are concerned. A little bit of a whipsaw here and there. Well, I shouldn't say whipsaw, a pullback. And if we shoot a line across the lows, it looks like we've got a little bit of a breach here, so we might expect to see some support. Right now, though, gold probably waiting on direction from the stock market. That's almost what it looks like. So that's the gold eagle, golden eagle. Okay, sorry, bad joke. Here's gold on the hawk, which actually is producing a signal for us. We've got a first micro macro cross or a 3-arrow, 4-arrow consolidation, however you want to take a look at it. I would probably reserve my entry below the low. Oops, can't do that. A little bit out of reach for me. That's looking like a probable target, at least according to the trend lines on the hawk. So a little little bit of a mixed bag of signals as far as the gold market is concerned. And now we're getting a trend change signal on the Falcon. Hooray, and the NQ just hit our profit target. So we are 2 for 2 today. And let's take a look here on the Falcon in gold. And you can see we're getting, excuse me, pardon me, we're getting a little bit of a trend change signal here. I'm going to shoot a trend line across the bottom to see how close we are there. Yeah, it looks like they might be trying to make their way back here to the primary resistance line. Nice little bounce here off of the secondary resistance zones. And here too, we've kind of broken this line, broke through, bounced under. I would speculate that we're going to see the market trade down here around 1140 perhaps, where it might find some support off of the primary again. Looks like they are blowing the lines a little bit, just blowing past them a few ticks. How close were we to the next line? Yeah, they just kind of fudged that one. Same thing here. When they broke the primary resistance, looks like they broke through almost by an equal amount. All right, so here's our trend change signal. The trend line, of course, you never really know what it's going to do when it hits the trend line, so that gives me some pause. Nope, can't take that one. At least not risking 2% of my capital. So it appears to me that gold having a slight downward bias on the day. This trend line will be key. We can anticipate some buying support coming in here. Let's just watch and see how it plays out as it hits that trend line. Oh, was there a report that came out at the top of the hour? All of a sudden, gold takes a little bit of a hop there. Wow, the advanced decline is just skewed. Jim just shot me a couple numbers here. 339 buyers, 2,500 sellers. There's nobody out there buying, and yet the market still managed to post a decent rally out of the gate. That might have been some profit taking, I think, from the overnights. Oh, well done, Jim. He shorted the YM at 01 and out at 50. Grabbed 50 ticks. Nicely done. So what I'm waiting for here now is, if I were a gold trader, if I were in this trade, this is exactly what I'm looking for right here. These bars right here. Give me 2 red bars in a row, and that's definitely time for me to roll my stop. Let's say my stop was up here, which is where I wanted to place it. So we're short from here, and this is always a little bit dicey when you do this, going into an area like the trend line. Sometimes what you may want to do is you may want to wait for a secondary signal, or you may want to wait for that second push. You can almost always be assured that there will be some sort of reaction around a trend line, especially if it's an obvious trend line like this. And I know right now some of you are scrambling thinking, well, how does he know how to draw the trend line? Always go for the obvious peaks and valleys. It's really that simple. Don't micromanage your charts. You know, here's a peak, there's a peak, there's your trend line. If you go to the very beginning of a trend, you know, you shoot a trend line like that, okay, well, it held for a little while. Obviously, the trend line changed somewhat, and this is also why I will very often shoot a trend line across the tops, because you get this channel type look, and you can immediately see when the trend line is starting to fail or it's starting to get a little bit out of sync. But that was a trend line that was good for about an hour, but then it became obvious that this was in fact the trend line. All right, so again, we just go for the obvious. We saw the market break down, come hit it, tag it from the other side, a little bit of a reversal, no real signal there for us to take advantage of. And then the market, you know, starts coming back up. Would I draw a trend line from down here to here? Yeah, you could. But like I said, very often these initial peaks and valleys, they'll have a lot of influence on it. All right, let's see if we're getting what we're waiting for yet. No, not yet. So if you delayed your entry, you wouldn't be in this trade just yet. If you decided to take your chances, you were really confident about the market direction for whatever reason, you chose to take it before the trend line, hoping to ride out the bounce. Okay, here you are. So how do you manage your stop now? Well, we would be looking for a sign that the sellers are serious about taking the market back. So I'll have a trend line here because there will be sellers watching this trend line. If gold rallies, say somewhere around 1143.50, we could see the sellers come back at that point. But right now, all I'm looking for is the sellers to show me some sort of effort. Show me that the sellers are there, and then I can start rolling in my stop. So let's pretend for a moment that this bar, this current green bar, actually finished red. So I've got two red bars in a row. That shows me some selling effort. I would then bring my stops down there, and I would probably start to roll my stops a little bit more aggressively, at least until I could get it to a break-even type situation. But they're moving a little bit slower than I thought. We had that little hiccup there. I thought we were going to see gold actually do something, but right now it looks as though it's pinched somewhat. So a slight bearish flavor on the day for gold, but seems like a very tiny range for the most part. Where did gold open this morning? Yeah, it really hasn't done very much. All right, let's see what's been going on. Looks like could have easily stayed with our sell signal here. My goodness, the NQ tailed off nicely. Come on, charts. So nice little decline. We sold 42.08. So we sold up here. Look how smart we were. Rode out that first little swing, and then boom, down she goes. So we sold 42.08 quarter, covered somewhere up here. So it looks like there was probably another $200 in that move, or pretty close, certainly another 100, 150. Providing, of course, we pop out on the low, which you know we always do. Well, pretty good start to the day. Let's see if we can get a handle on what's going on. Soybeans a little bit quiet this morning, not much going on in the bean market. And now we're starting to get a little bit of sideways action again. Look at here, the Raptor. This, of course, highlighting the first hour's high and low. Jim's handy dandy first hour indicator. And we're trading right in the middle of the mix. Good morning, Neil. Neil says, just got here. You may have already covered this. Are you thinking this may be a day to stay out of the market again? Well, actually, we've managed a couple of profitable trades so far. We have been a little bit choosy. I took a first micro macro cross in the hawk, and we took a rule of three signal here on the eagle, this breakdown right here. And it found our profit target without too much effort. So currently, though, I think the market is starting to search for some direction. I think the sellers have the upper hand. We've had two trades pay off to the short side, but it isn't that the buyers haven't had opportunity. Out of the gate, the buyers were going whole hog, and I don't know if that was profit taking or if they were trying to actually load up and get into the gap. But as far as volatility goes, the market doesn't seem overly volatile today. You know, we are getting some swings. I am trying to run a deeper stop to try to account for that. But no, I think it's safe. Air quotes. I think it's safe. We do need a certain amount of volatility, of course. Otherwise, we get the markets of a month ago where it's almost painful waiting for them to do something. All right, the seller's really loading up, I think. Here's a green bar sell signal. I haven't gotten in on this one, not yet anyway. It's about to turn the ATR over, so this bar right here actually becomes our signal bar. And the problem I would be having with this one is where in the world am I going to cover this trade? Do I just cover it above here? Ideally, I'd like to cover it back there. That's a little bit out of reach though. Darn it, now watch them fall off the map. All right, let's just follow it, see whether or not that stop would be enough to keep me on the right side. Yeah, so here's the here's the market struggling a little bit. We'll see if we come back with another hard edge bounce here. That might be worth getting on board for. All right, well, they're really starting to slow somewhat. Just poking around trying to get a handle on what they're doing here. So you can see this particular signal failed. Well, at least where I had my stop. Ideally, I wanted my stop up here. Couldn't afford it, so we didn't actually take that trade. We're coming back with perhaps another green bar sell here. The market's still floundering a little bit, just looking for some direction. Neil wrote something here. He says, thanks for the input. It was looking a little hairy, and then they invoked that Rule 48 this morning, so just double checking. I didn't even realize that they invoked Rule 48. For those of you who are saying, what the heck is Rule 48? It's on the New York Stock Exchange, they have a rule that's designed to take some of the volatility out of the market. And they don't usually, it's very rare that they invoke it. So it's kind of a big deal. Oh, interesting. Here, Neil had a little technical glitch. He says he was using Trailblazer. I had a buy order rejected because it was below the last trade price. When I went to X out the entry line on the Trailblazer, it ended up putting me in the trade. Should I have clicked OK on the NT error box instead? Frustrating because it made me lose money. Yeah, I bet. Okay, so I'm assuming you're using a limit order? Okay, because, well, maybe not. See, what happens is if I try to, if the market is right here, where it's trading right now, and I want to sell it, say from up here. Oh, sorry, that's a sell limit. Wrong button. Okay, if I try to sell it, oh shoot, still a wrong button. How in the world did you do that, Neil? I guess you must have been just very close to the, close enough that it hopped over your price. You got the error message, then it came back and tagged your price. Um, that's quite the trick, actually, and a fluke, I think. The best thing you can do is hit your close button. Close out whatever error message you have going and hit your close button. And on your control panel, if you want to make doubly sure, you also have the flatten everything. Just be aware that when you hit that, you're going to have to reload your Trailblazer and or Trade Manager. I'm not quite sure how you did that though with Trailblazer. I've done it with the Trade Manager. You know, like if I try to sell the market, say from here, and I go here, I hit submit, I get the error. Because using a stop order, which is my order type, I can only sell below the market. So I'm assuming you got this type of error. You have to clear that window first, and then I would hit the close button. Don't bother trying to X out the trade. Because sometimes, let's say we have sometimes trying to find that little X to hit it, and if you're in a hurry or panicking or something, which is easy to do, it's hard to sometimes nail it right on, and then you end up doing one of those things, and then you get this. Hit the close. Hit the close. Okay, we're looking a touch sideways. Neil, you're going to have to hit the error message first. Ninja won't let you do anything before that error message is closed out. So you can either hit the enter key, like let's say we do it, let's say we try to put in a buy order here. I can just hit the enter key, it'll disappear, then I can hit my close button. But I'm guessing that doesn't happen very often because I'm having a hard time recreating it. I think it was just an unfortunate fluke where the market hopped your order, came back and tagged you from the other side. Yeah, Neil says just something to tick me off. I feel for you, my friend. Trading's hard enough, never mind when your computer is not behaving. All right, we're in a whole lot of chop right now, and the Raptor makes it pretty plain the kind of ranges we're looking at. We're very, very sideways here. Just thrashing back and forth. See, we're not getting follow through one way or the other. Yeah, Jim makes a good point too. You can go to your positions tab and make sure nothing is open on your control center. This will tell you right away what your status is. Sierra charts used to have a great feature, and I'm trying to get the programmers to include this. There was a little tab that sat right here. You could move it around, but I always kept mine in the middle of the screen so it would be easy to get to. And it was your panic button. If the world was coming unglued and you were on the wrong side, you hit that panic button, it flattened everything, every position you had. So if you lost track of what was going on, or if the market started moving too fast and you didn't know where you were, you could hit that panic button and know that you were flat. I thought that was a very good feature. All right, so the first micro-macro cross paying off here to the upside. Are the buyers really going to try to get into that opening gap? Okay, well, we had a trend change signal develop here rather quickly. It's just about to show it to you when it already triggered. So here's our trend change signal. It's a pretty big one. Here's the up, there's the down, here's the up. Trend line, bars, filter, everything is in sync. This is another one of those. Where in the world do I cover this trade? Can I cover it all the way down there? No, I can't. Can I cover it below the median line? That I can do. Looks like we would have hit our break-even trigger, but come on, get up there. You're so close to our target. There they go. My wife has been sitting at my desk again and I can't find anything. She has the annoying habit of rearranging things. Well, what the heck? Oh well. I made a note in that little notebook that I'm looking for that I was going to share with you. It was an important little notebook. It had all my words of wisdom contained in it. Oh well, I'll find it after the session. I'll share it with you tomorrow. Right now, the NQ really trying hard to put in a rally. And we've got considerable selling pressure on the market still. So here we've got a red bar buy on our hawk. See that first micro macro cross? That's just a darling little signal right there. Macro pullback had good follow through. Red bar buy failed, but no real test of the extreme here. So I would not be surprised to see the market give us a little bit of a hiccup here. And maybe another selling opportunity. I'm trying hard to be patient for that test of the extreme. I don't think they're going to run away on us. Here is now our first micro macro cross. We could take a look at covering it above the high. That's the nice thing about this particular one. Oh, they kind of ran away a little bit. And now that's into yellow bars, so we need to wait for our 4-arrow consolidation or another signal which is all in sync. Heavy selling. Here we go. So we're getting our trend change signal. You've got options here. You can take this one on the hash mark, or you can take it below the low. Sometimes when they're this close, though, I almost feel that if it fills me here, it's going to fill me on the low. We'll see whether or not that's the case this time. Actually slipped it a tick. Are the buyers out of the picture? Maybe not yet. Neil just has a question here about entering his orders so close. You know what you can do, Neil, is you can place your order actually further away. Like let's say I wanted to sell. Place your order further away and then drag it in. That way you don't need to worry about getting it exactly right. Like I don't need to worry about placing the order right here. You know, I can place it away and then drag it in. The only thing you need to be aware of is, oh, I can't do it now on this one. When you're trading near the borders of the chart, and what I mean is the chart will auto resize. So if I place my buy order up here, and now watch what happens when I go to move it. See how your chart will go just crazy? It's because it's auto resizing, it's auto formatting. So what you want to do is you want to grab your price axis and just pull on it a little bit. That will lock it. And now you can move your order wherever you want, and the chart will not hop all over the place. So that might be a solution for you. Oh. All right, so the buyer's obviously not finished with this market. All right, let's see what we got brewing here. Well, we're back near the top end of our trading range. It does look as though they're going to try to make a run for it and get into that opening gap. Soybeans very quiet this morning. Did I show you soybeans already? Here's soybeans. I've been waiting for this Falcon signal to do something. It's just sitting there. So we've got a trend change signal. You can shoot a trend line across the bottom here and kind of see where the lows are falling, where there's a little bit of support. Shoot a trend line across the tops, and you see we have a little bit of a wedge forming here. You could certainly set up the trade something like this. It does look as though soybeans are in decline today, but they're just not doing anything. So they had a nice move lower, and now they're just kind of sitting there. All right, so after that big fast run up, we're now getting a red bar buy, which we can buy, but we can also set up for the failure. And we're getting a trend change signal here on the Falcon. Just getting the warning dot. We don't have the signal just yet. So there's the trend change signal now on the Falcon. It looks like we got a chance for a second push on this one. Okay, and that macro pullback has also turned into a first macro cross, or sorry, macro pullback. That red bar buy failure has turned into a first macro cross. This is why I say that very often with the red bar buy and green bar sell, you can just use them as an early warning, because it is likely you're going to see a first macro cross originate in pretty much the same area. So far, both trades working out not too badly. The Falcon trade here just hovering above our break-even trigger. And that would be because I've delayed my entry a little bit to take advantage of the second push. There we go. We got the break-even trigger. And we're just about to tap our profit target. All right, I think I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive here with my stop strategy now. We'll go with something like the parabolics. Come on. Get down there. Give me one more move, and then you can do your macro pullback. There you go. That's a good NASDAQ. Okay. Whenever you see the market make a very rapid move one way or the other, like we did here with the Falcon, or sorry, with the NASDAQ here on the Falcon, the market just went boom, boom, boom really quickly. and then all of a sudden it comes back with a trend change signal. That kind of suggests that there wasn't a whole lot of support on this rally, that this actually ran up on vapors, because there's only two reasons the market will accelerate that quickly. It's either really strong buying or a lack of selling. And the fact, how do I know it was a lack of selling? Well, once we hit the primary resistance line here, all of a sudden we develop a trend change signal. A trend line touch, yes. A late filter entry, sure. But a full-on trend change signal? I don't know. That's a little suspicious. So that's what made that worth the poke. All right, Tony, we'll catch you later. Tony's got to take the missus to the dentist. Boy, dentists have come a long way, haven't they? I used to, well, I was never bad about going to the dentist. My brother was always a difficult child. But I was at the dentist a few months back. Didn't feel a thing. The big thing with dentists now is they want to knock you out. They want to knock you out, put you under, and then do all the dental work. Big follow through on our Falcon signal and our Hog signal. Geiger counter just buried here in the red zone. That notebook is really bugging me now. What happened to it? All right, we've got a couple opportunities here. We haven't done a Raptor trade yet. Let's take a look at a Raptor trade. So we're getting a trend change or a cloud reversal. We're bouncing now on the underside of the cloud. That should give us some support, or resistance in this case. And we should see the market continue lower. Let's enable our stops. There we go. We hit our break even. Come on, give me that first target. Come on. See, it's just that one tick, right? Come on. We'll help you. We'll pull it down a little bit. Come on. Come on. This way. Ah, you stinkers. Had I sold it a tick earlier, we would have been all over that. All right, let's see if we can't get another sell signal. With the Trailblazer, of course, you can always use your buy and sell market buttons also. Wow, look at that little island here in the tape. That was a lot of selling going on there that just got absorbed. Okay, here's the, I was going to do another Raptor trade, but here's a 4 arrow consolidation on the Hawk. So we got a chance for a second push on that one. Now that's turning into a green bar sell. It keeps running away on me. Okay, now we've turned full on green. Macro line isn't in sync yet, but it's nixed our selling attempts, at least for the moment, on the Hawk, that is. Working on a possible trend change signal in the Falcon. All right, here comes the Raptor again. So this time, well, I was going to just use the market button, but we can sell it this way also. So we're looking at a hard edge bounce. The signal actually generated up here. I'm going to let this bar finish. If it finishes lower, I'll use that as my signal bar. Jim says, how about shooting a trend line on here? I gotta go. I can't do a trend line from the bottom. Let's see a trend line here off the top. We have a little bit of a channel type thing going on here. Come on down. You know you want to. There you go. Don't leave me hanging this time. Come on, get down there. There. That's more better. And we'll go with the parabolics on the rest. See if they'll tail off here now or whether they're going to tap me break even on the rest of it. Come on, let's go. No. A little bit of a hiccup, but that's all right. We managed to grab a little bit of profit. Now notice how we're starting to shallow up a little bit here. Not able to reach the bottom end of this trading range. That's actually a little bit bullish. Jim's saying that the DAX is also firming up. DAX almost a double bottom. Well, that might spill over into the NASDAQ. We'll see. Overall, the NQ still very bearish today. Crude oil has been selling off nicely. Didn't pay much attention to crude this morning. I don't know if I can be convinced to be an aggressive buyer, though. The market obviously in decline. Any rallies we see, and it's not that there isn't room to rally. Look, even this morning, to see the market recover to this morning's highs, or even looks like the highs of the day today are sitting around 42.30. That's not an unreasonable objective. Oh, nicely done. Jim bagged 88 ticks on the day. Well done. Yeah, Jim's, I think he's got the right idea. He says, see you later. I'm done. I think we might be wrapping up a little bit in a few minutes here also. Getting a 4-arrow consolidation, macro pullback type thing. I'm still obviously bearish on this market. This might be a very tight little trade to pull off. Because we've got a serious sideways trend going on. Good, it's into yellow bars. I don't need to worry about it. Well, it does appear as though they're going to thrash about a little bit more. Like I said, the Raptor kind of gives us a pretty good picture. Well, there was a little bit of a run up there, and then a prolonged sideways period. A little bit of a move lower, and now it looks like we're going to go higher again. So I think we're going to see a little bit of thrashing about for the rest of the day. We really haven't gone too far in spite of the wild swings that we've encountered. If you're going to be trading this afternoon, let's see, what do we need to fill that gap? We said we left off at 42.60, so 42.50, that would be a monstrous upside target. It's possible, however, I don't think it's probable. I flinch a little bit as I say that because every time I say the market's not going to do something, then that's exactly what it does. I would be more comfortable selling. I do believe the trend is down, at least the short-term trend. So I think I would be looking for selling opportunities. I would be leery of buys signals. I would be a little bit more receptive to sell signals. I would need to run a very wide stop because you can see today's ranges are just a little bit on the crazy side. Soybeans finally ticked lower, but I don't know if they're going to go anywhere today. Crude oil also on a downward trend today, but I don't think we're going to see any monster move to the downside in crude oil. You see with the NASDAQ, once we've established a little bit of a range right now. This is kind of our range that we're stuck in. Once we're outside of this range, things might loosen up a little bit, but so long as we're trading within there, it could be a little bit difficult. All right. Well, good luck. Just a reminder, tomorrow is our open house day, so we are going to meet at the alternate venue, and I will see you guys then. Talk to you soon.